Bonsoir à tout le monde, à toutes et à tous. Merci beaucoup pour être ici jusqu'à maintenant, qui est presque 8 heures. J'espère que vous aimiez la réception. And we are going to surprise you with another event at CSPC. We are truly honored, thrilled, and pleased to have collaborated with Science Museum of Science and Technology to host the ceremony of awards for science and engineering. This is really an honor for us, and I hope you enjoy it. And without further ado, I invite Denise Amiot to come to the podium. Merci beaucoup. Denise.
Bonsoir. Bonsoir, chers invités. Good evening, distinguished guests and conference delegates, friends, colleagues. It's a pleasure for me to be here at the Canadian Science Policy Conference for a special celebration. The celebration is for the induction of 3 new members to the Canadian Science and Engineering Hall of Fame. I would like to acknowledge and thank Genome Canada for being the sponsor of this reception. It is much, much appreciated, and we certainly share common views toward the promotion and excellence of research in Canada. Le Panthéon existe depuis 1991. C'est la première fois que les membres du Panthéon sont reconnus en dehors des murs du Musée de sciences et technologies, qui est l'hôte du Panthéon. We're extremely happy about this new partnerships with the Canadian Science Policy Conference, providing a unique and exceptional venue for the Hall of Fame of Science and Engineering. And we are very proud of our continuing partnerships with Engineers Canada and with this new partnership with the Hall of Fame. And we are looking forward to continue to promote this Hall of Fame of Science and Engineering. As you may know, this year there are 3 new inductees into the Hall of Fame. That makes a total of 51 Hall of Fame members who have been honored for their outstanding achievements in the fields of science and engineering and who have made significant contributions to Canadian society. Le Panthéon de Sciences et Génie reconnaît les réalisations passées d'individus qui se sont démarqués dans le domaine des sciences et génies au cours de leur carrière. Il est important de souligner que ces individus seront des modèles pour les jeunes Canadiens afin de les attirer à poursuivre des carrières en sciences, en génie, en technologie et s'assurer qu'ils sont inspirés par les réalisations qu'ils ont accomplies. One of our 3 inductees tonight, the astronomer Dr. Sidney van den Berg, unfortunately could not be with us this evening. Dr. van den Berg is known as Canada's most respected astronomer. He spent almost 20 years in the 60s and 70s teaching astronomy at the University of Toronto and working at the David Dunlap Observatory. Il a passé donc près de 20 ans dans ces fonctions. His major research interests were star clusters, variable stars, and the structure and evolutions of galaxies and the distances between them. Please don't ask me to explain to you what those things mean. In the 80s, Dr. van den Berg was director of the Dominion Astrophysical Observatory in Victoria, British Columbia, and was president and chairman of the board of the Canada-France-Hawaii Telescope Corporation in Hawaii. Il a publié près de 500 articles Et la comète qu'il a découverte en 1974 a été nommée en son nom. Donc, la comète Vandenberg. We welcome Dr. Vandenberg to the Canadian Science and Engineering Hall of Fame. Now, we have our second inductee, and I'm very, very pleased to have had the chance to meet him after, I believe it was 1 month in his new role as a senator. So I'm very pleased to introduce to you tonight the Honorable Kelvin Kenneth Ogilvie. Senator Ogilvie. Oh. Senator Ogilvie is being inducted into the Canadian Science and Engineering Hall of Fame as a leading expert in biotechnology, bioorganic chemistry, and genetic engineering. His scientific achievements include the development of an automated process for the manufacture of RNA and the invention of a drug used worldwide to fight infections that occur when one's immune system is weakened. Sénateur Oliver a aussi écrit et fait de nombreuses présentations sur les défis que rencontre le Canada comme nation et le rôle d'une économie du savoir sur l'éducation postsecondaire et l'importance de l'entrepreneuriat. Senator Ogilvie, I invite you to please step forward to receive your membership to the Canada Science and Engineering Hall of Fame.
Bonsoir tout le monde. I can say without fear of contradiction that I'm extremely happy to be here this evening. Je peux dire aussi que je suis très heureux d'être encore vivant. This honor is just something that is still difficult for me to fully comprehend, to be placed on the shelf with the likes of Graham Bell, Banting, Fleming, and all those others is something that it is very difficult to fully recognize at this point. I perhaps can have a moment to tell a very brief story. When I got the call that I was going to receive this honor, the coincidence was that about 2 weeks prior, I had been at a major biotechnology event at the museum. And as is my fault, I tend to arrive at things early. And so I had a bit of time, and I spent some time in the Hall of Fame. And I walked down the hall, and I looked at these magnificent Canadians. Rutherford, whose office, it turns out, had been right across the square at McGill where my office was located. And when I first arrived at McGill, I looked out my window and it was pointed out that Rutherford's labs were in the corner of the building across the square. And I couldn't believe I was at this university where such a great scientist had carried out some of his most important work. And to walk down this corridor, and there's Rutherford and the others, and I thought, what a great thing this is that Canada has, this museum to celebrate science and engineering achievement, because it's not something we do well generally in our country. And to get a call 2 weeks later that I was going to be asked to really, it was almost too much. It's equally an enormous coincidence that this evening's event is sponsored by Genome Canada, where I had the opportunity to serve as a member of their board for a number of years, an organization for which I have just enormous respect for their accomplishments and the people who lead it, and to provide the opportunities for the tremendous funding projects in genomics across this country. Ladies and gentlemen, I could go on. It's a delight for me to be able to have my family here with me this evening, and to have some of the people that worked with me that helped me actually reach this opportunity of achievement. Two of the most brilliant young people that I ever had the opportunity to work with, who are now extremely successful scientists in their own right. And to be here with you in this magnificent setting to receive this award, all I can do is say to those people, whoever they are, who made this possible, to put forward the recommendation, there are no words for which I can truly express my deep appreciation. Thank you all very much.
Congratulations again, Senator Oliver. This is a well-deserved honor. Oh, Gilby, what did I say? Oh, sorry. I apologize.
There is a senator.
Yes, I know.
He would probably be very unhappy.
Okay, we'll email him tonight. It's now my pleasure to introduce you to Mary Carter. Mary Carter is the Chief Operating Officer of Engineers Canada, and she will introduce you the third inductee.
Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here with all of you and to be involved in this very important ceremony alongside Madame Amiot and our distinguished guests. Engineers Canada is the national organization of the 12 regulatory bodies for engineering in Canada. As its Chief Operating Officer, I'm very proud of our association with the Canada Science and Technology Museum and the Canadian Science and Engineering Hall of Fame. The work the Hall of Fame does to honor engineers who have made outstanding contributions to society and to promote role models to help attract young Canadians to careers in engineering is very important. Tonight I have the honor of introducing the next professional engineer to be inducted into the Canadian Science and Engineering Hall of Fame, Dr. Jerry Hatch, PEng. As an engineer with a prolific career, at the age of 35, Dr. Hatch was works manager of the world's only ilmenite smelter at the Quebec Iron and Titanium Corporation in Sorel, Quebec. He played a key role in turning the technical and financial aspects of the company around, and it became the world's principal source of high-grade titanium oxide and grade iron ore. Dr. Hatch saw the need for an engineering organization that could make contributions to the research and development, marketing, operating, and financial aspects of industrial projects. In 1958, he was given an opportunity to develop such an organization in Toronto, and this organization went on to become Hatch Associates Limited. He built such a strong company that it withstood a severe recession since his retirement in 1988, and it's grown from 5 people to now having 10,000 people working on projects in 65 offices around the world. Dr. Hatch has received many professional awards, including becoming a member of the Order of Canada in 1997 and the Canadian Mining Hall of Fame. Now I'll call upon Dr. Hatch to join me on stage to accept his membership into the Canadian Science and Engineering Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Dr. Hatch.
Merci, Ms. Carter. I'm certainly honored to be inducted into this great organization of Canada's Science and Engineering Hall of Fame. I have prepared some written remarks that I will, in a few minutes, I'll call on my friend Tom Reed to read to you. But when thinking about this meeting tonight, I realized, well, I've got a lot of friends there that aren't furnace specialists that I sometimes profess to be. So I better say something for them, because my comments are largely around the people that have worked with me over the years and helped me along the way. Because if it's successful, as we all know, it's how you build, you have high caliber people that you treat well and expect them to treat others well. So I thought, well, I'll just take a minute or two, and at least for the benefit of those of you that aren't worried about high-powered furnaces and the like, he might be left with that the old man has got something besides interest in people going for him. And in that way, I'm going to say a few words about our first major project with Falconbridge nickel mines. It was a connection with developing processes for producing ferro-nickel from their laterite ores in the Dominican Republic. At that time, the largest furnaces in that field were 12 megawatts. They were all low voltage furnaces, and that's what limited. You just couldn't have any higher current without burning down the furnaces. So we knew that there was in building a pilot plant to test our ideas out. The idea being that since most of the chemical work was done in the step before the furnace, that we could liberate most of the energy in the arcs and not all by resistance heating. And that proved to be right. So instead of having to build 10 furnaces, we built 3. And then they were more, we turned out even that was conservative, because after we got the plant going full capacity, we rigged up one of the furnaces to raise the voltage from 1200 to 2500 volts, and we had no problem running this furnace at 66 megawatts for as long as, well, we kept running it for a long time. And so in that one project of Falconbridge, it was 5-fold the throughput of power and product from what had been possible heretofore. And so that was a good example of what are the caliber of people we had. And they continue on, and we've got, you'll see from the written remarks that we're strong in energy now, and also in things like infrastructure and rapid transit and transportation projects. So I'll call on my friend Tom Reed to read you my remarks. Thank you.
The one person in my adult years who had the most influence on me was my wife, Sheila. She helped me more than anyone with her wise counsel and good sense on a sustained basis until she passed away after 57 years of marriage. She was not just the mother of our children, but my wisest counselor on pretty well all subjects. Sheila was an accomplished architect in her own right and one of the first women to graduate in architecture from McGill University. She was also the first architectural student, man or woman, at McGill to be named a university scholar. My own mother, particularly in my early years, and until I graduated from McGill University, was a great positive influence on me. I was taught by her, and her father, my maternal grandfather Goodfellow, taught us the work ethic, doing your best, and treating others as you wish to be treated. Also, if you're a good student, you had many advantages, including being able to build your own network of meaningful contacts who could help you along the way. A good example of this was during Hatch Limited's early days with Falconbridge in 1968, when we were testing Falconbridge's pilot plant for the production of ferronickel. We were still testing plant areas and equipment before any meaningful operation had been carried out. When H.G. Fraser, the CEO of Falconbridge, at the time agreed that we should operate the pilot plant for a month without special tests. We were able to do that, and it gave us profound confidence in the project and helped the client to raise $200 million capital to complete the project. In my high school years, I was fortunate to have excellent teachers, most of whom were veterans of World War I. I'm particularly indebted to the chemistry teacher for his interest in his students, which included taking us on tours of chemical and metallurgical plants in the Montreal area. This initiative made it easy for me to decide what I wanted to do, namely be involved in developing chemical and metallurgical processes to successfully produce quality products for these industries. Unfortunately, my father died when I was 5 in 1927, so I really didn't get to know him. My father was a veteran of World War I. He served in France where he was gassed. My father was able to return to university after coming back to Canada, where he graduated with honors from McGill University in agriculture and was valedictorian of his class. In the mid-1920s, my father developed tuberculosis and was unable to recover. I must thank Professor McEwen, head of the metallurgical department at McGill. He convinced me of the opportunities for young metallurgical engineers and saw to it that upon my graduation, I had a good job. The job was to develop processes that could use large blocks of electrical energy to produce industrial materials and metals. At about the same time, my boss gave me a technical paper entitled Chemistry at 1600 degrees C by Professor John Chipman of Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT. I was very fortunate to be graduating when I did. There was a lot of research activity on quantifying knowledge of metallurgical processes by making measurements of the thermodynamic energies involved in chemical and metallurgical reactions. Dr. Chipman was one of the leaders in the field. I was awarded a fellowship by the province of Quebec to study outside of Canada because Dr. Chipman's paper enrolled for me that MIT was my place for a doctorate. And Dr. Chipman was my sponsoring professor for my thesis. My work at MIT became the basis for my career in developing metallurgical processes. I found my time working with Dr. Chipman highly enjoyable and challenging. After graduating from MIT with my doctorate to process metallurgy, my first significant job was in 1952 when I joined Quebec Iron and Titanium Corporation as Director of Research and Development at their ilmenite smelting plant in Sorel. The plant produced iron as a high-grade melting stock for the steel industry and titanium slag as feedstock for the rapidly growing titanium pigment industry. In 1954, I became the QIT's works manager. Most of the problems at QIT were due to the fact that although he had a pilot plant for the process, It never did operate steadily for any period of time. Regardless, the owners went ahead with engineering and construction of a 5-furnace plant. Fortunately, after we did the test work and with the company's backing of the Sorel Group, we were able to make the changes required to enable a 5-furnace plant to operate profitably. In addition to these charges, the company decided to proceed with the design and construction of furnaces 6, 7, and 8, using the milestone strategy. The successful operation of furnaces 6, 7, and 8 placed QIT as the #1 supplier of titanium feedstock for the pigment industry in the world. I'm pleased to see that Hatch's 3 broad areas of services, namely the development of processes for the production of metals and industrial materials, secondly, processes for the generation of huge blocks of electrical energy, and in depth, expertise in infrastructure, including transportation, rail, and rapid transit systems. All of our specialist areas have been recognized as national and international award winners, including 5 prestigious Schreier Awards, which are Canada's highest marks of distinction for engineering, procurement, and construction management companies. The first award was for ISCOT, the Iron and Steel Company of Trinidad and Tobago. In 1982, we took advantage of natural gas fields surrounding the islands. Number 2, the Macotac, New Brunswick, Generating Station and Modernization Program, an Energy Award for 1993. Third, the St. Clair River Tunneling Project between Sarnia, Ontario and Port Huron, Michigan, an infrastructure project in 1996, so trade between Canada and the US could be more efficient. Number 4 was the Whittier Access Tunnel in Alaska, the largest multi-purpose tunnel in the world, Infrastructure 2000. And lastly, the restarts of Bruce Nuclear Power Units 3 and 4, an energy project in 2004. In addition, Hatch has captured 2 International Project of the Year awards for engineering and construction management excellence. Shepherd Subway Twin Tunnels in Toronto, the sponsor was the Construction Management Association in 2002. And secondly, in 2008, the Rio Tinto Expansion and Modernization Program at Sorel, Quebec, for upgrading slag as feedstock for the chloride process. I'm fortunate that I have been some of the key players from early days developing the firm. They're here tonight from Hatch Limited, as well as some of the current key players here with me this evening so that I can thank them firsthand. Bert Wasmund and his partner Birgit, Ron Nolan and his wife Carla, Kurt Strobel, currently CEO of the firm, and his wife Marianne, John Bianchini and his wife Katya, John Pearson and his wife Beth, Robert Fransky and his wife Tanya, my wife Susan and me, and Andy Mattias and his wife Ludmilla. Ron Nolan succeeded me following my retirement as CEO in 1988. During Ron's 15-plus years as Chief Executive Officer, there's no doubt he was a driving force in the firm growing rapidly in terms of people. At the time of my retirement in 1988, the firm had 600 employees, whereas by the time Ron's retirement in 2004, the firm had grown to 6,000 employees. The expansion was due to internal growth and the purchase of engineering firms. The firm, which is employee-owned and continues to grow, and today has more than 10,000 employees. The beginning of Hatch Limited was in 1958, when I first became president of the 5-employee consulting engineering firm, W.S. Atkins & Associates, a Canadian startup operation in Toronto. Mr. Atkins, with little process engineering knowledge, ran a large civil engineering firm in the UK. In 1964, I purchased Atkins & Associates from Mr. Atkins and sold 10% each to Ted Noskowitz and Archie Lamont. Both were excellent engineers in their own right. We went on to build a comprehensive consulting service company by hiring high-caliber people with innovative skills, detailed design and project management expertise, people not just with ability to control capital costs, but also to arrive at meaningful estimates of operating costs, sales revenues, and profitability. Dr. Strobel has encouraged the development of comprehensive engineering for Hatch Limited around the world. These managers are prepared to push for innovation, to always be serious about safety protocols, and to insist on behalf of our employees on profitability and financial stability. Hatch's emphasis on repeat business with clients continues to work well for us. Some of our long-term clients are shutting down their old furnaces and expanding by building high-powered, more profitable furnace systems. This situation increases our profits and results in us having a full workload on hand for the foreseeable future. The company has had 3 presidents in its 50 years, and we've had the good fortune to have worked with men and women with strong knowledge bases, excellent professional, scientific, technical, and management skills to help our company grow from strength to strength. We thank them for their day in and day out dedication, their faithfulness, and their enthusiasm for the Hatch culture and for the firm's continued success. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you very much. This was great, great, great. What a story. We would love to have a copy of that because we need to keep that for history. That's very, very important. I'd like now to introduce the president of Genome Canada, Monsieur Pierre Mullion, à venir vous adresser la parole. Thanks again for your sponsorship. It's much appreciated.
Merci beaucoup, mesdames et messieurs. Une très bonne soirée à tous et à toutes. Of course, Genome Canada would like to extend their congratulations to our dear friend, Senator Ogilvie, and our new friend, Dr. Hatch. A fascinating story. I'd love to have a copy of the notes as well. Absolutely amazing. Not only 2 great scientists, not only 2 great team leaders, but also 2 great ambassadors of science for Canada. Thank you very much. And the good news is that the reception continues until 9 o'clock. So please enjoy. Thank you.